Today is Wednesday, November 29th, and today I'm just wondering how the Cowboys will fare now that their schedule starts to toughen up a lot.
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
Are all financial advisors fiduciaries? Fewer than you think. Not knowing could reduce your lifestyle. Hi, I'm Mitch Kramer, founder and CEO of Fluent Financial. A fiduciary is a regulatory term to reduce conflicts of interest in wealth management. A fiduciary always works in your best interest. A non-fiduciary advisor might put their compensation or company ahead of yours. At Fluent Financial, we are certified financial planners acting as fiduciary advisors. To learn more, go to fluentfinancial.com or Fluent Financial's YouTube channel.
What's damaged your roof? Hail, wind, water, maybe just age. O Hail Roofing is where to turn. That's O with two H's, Hail. They've provided the best options, advice, and solutions, be it residential or commercial, for more than a decade now. Trust O Hail to restore your property expertly. Do you have roof problems? Your best answer is at O with two H's, Hail.com. That's ohail.com. Now, you listening may not be in charge of purchasing seasonings for your home, but you do know what tastes good, really good. Goodness steak seasoning is great. Use it on, obviously, steak, chicken, veggies, or goodness knows what else. No sugar, no MSG, no gluten, great flavor. Get Goodness Steak Seasonings by going to bringthetasty.com. That's bringthetasty.com. It's the end of the run of cupcakes for the Cowboys. Their schedule starts to improve dramatically this week. 5 of the last 6 teams they played are losing teams. Seattle represents the start of a gauntlet that we'll see after Seattle. Dallas play the Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, and Lions in consecutive weeks. That means over the next 5 weeks, the Cowboys will face quarterbacks Geno Smith, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Tua with the long name in Miami, and Jared Goff. The Seahawks are sort of an odd team. They are not junk. Do not mistake this team for the kind of sort of sad sacks that the Cowboys have been playing recently. Commanders, Giants, Carolina, those types. Seattle's 6-5. And what's mystifying about them, yes, they are a playoff team right now. They'd be a wild card team, just like the Cowboys. But what's mystifying is how they could have lost twice to the Los Angeles Rams. This team, I think, looks at those games, and by the way, at the end of the year, that may cost them a playoff spot. Now, the other teams that beat them, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and San Francisco, hey, there's no shame there. No shame at all. And speaking of a change in schedules, Seattle's starting its own gauntlet with this game at Dallas. And after the Cowboy game, Seattle faces San Francisco, the Eagles, at Tennessee, and the Titans are tough at home, and then Pittsburgh. Pete Carroll is in his 14th year coaching Seattle. Think of that. Frank Reich got fired after 11 games coaching Carolina this year. And Carroll's been in Seattle 14 years, and he will be in Seattle for as long as he wants to coach. Like Tomlin in Pittsburgh and Belichick in New England. They're just there until they want to stop coaching. And what a fantastic career Pete Carroll has had in the regular season. In his 14 years in Seattle, the Seahawks are 134 wins and only 86 losses. That's a 14-year winning percentage of 61%, and in there, the 2013 Super Bowl championship. Now, when you look at this game, I know that the Cowboys are 8-3 and Seattle's 6-5, but the statistics make this look like a mismatch. For the year, Seattle, despite their winning record, has been outscored by 10 points. Dallas has outscored their opposition by 162 points. In simple points per game, Dallas averages 11 more points per game than do the Seahawks. And the Seahawks' lower half of the league offense, well, its primary problem is the running game. And this is where Dallas has a chance to really make hay on Thursday night. Seattle rushes the ball. The problem is the middle of their offensive line isn't very good. Seattle rushes the ball for only 96 yards a game. Their opponents get 118 yards per game. That's 26 yards per game they lose on the ground. And if Dallas can make the ground game go, they can make everything go. Now, does the Seattle defense balance some of the offensive shortcomings? Well, not in this game. In the defense, they're also ranked in the bottom third of the league or so in defense, allowing 4 more points per game than the Cowboys do. So, shaky offense, shaky defense, outscored for the season, and still 6-5. That Pete Carroll can coach. He figures out how to win football games. And don't put it past him to figure out how to win this one. Now, Seattle last year was not supposed to be very good. It looked like they'd run up the white flag. They traded their longtime quarterback, Russell Wilson, because, well, Russell Wilson started to fall off the cliff as a player. And by the way, Russell looks back this year, but he wasn't very good last year in Denver. And to replace the highly popular Russell Wilson in Seattle, the Seahawks brought in the highly unpopular Geno Smith to be their starting quarterback. Now, what was Geno before last year? He was an NFL tumbleweed. In the last 7 years, he'd been through 3 other teams and hadn't been a full-time starter in any of those spots. And here he was, in his middle 30s, about to take over a Seattle team that had 4 years before been 12-6. And then 3 years ago, 12-5. But the last year, 7-10. Seattle last year, they weren't supposed to be very good. They were stunning. They jumped to 9-8 and made the playoffs. And why did they jump like that? Because of Geno Smith, of all people. Geno was the comeback player of the year in the NFL last year. He was the number 9 rated quarterback in the league. And Cowboy fans, you'll note that was pretty much higher than Dak Prescott. But Geno this year has fallen back to number 20 in the league. He doesn't have much of a running game, as we told you. It's led to some third down problems. They're a very poor team converting third downs into first downs. And all that's despite the fact that this receiver core that the Cowboys face on Thursday of Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and a number 1 draft choice in last year's draft, Jackson Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State. Those are 3 people that can play, really play. But all this leads one to think poor offense, the less impressive defense, the problems with third down, the problems running the football. Geno Smith has slipped back in ability. You think to yourself, well, the Cowboys are going to just drill Seattle. Let me scare you for a minute. Seattle comes into this game having lost their last 2 starts to the Rams and to San Francisco. In his 14 years in Seattle when Pete Carroll has lost 2 games in a row. In the next game, he's 21-5. Let that sink in. 21-5. Seattle doesn't endure long losing streaks. Seattle, under Carroll, seems to get back up off the floor pretty well. And by the way, they were knocked to the floor last week by San Francisco. So even though statistically this looks like one Dallas should win and looks like one Seattle should lose, Carroll's ability to pick his club back up scares me a little bit. We'll get a better read, though, when that game is over, because the Cowboys will have encountered one of the toughest teams they'll play in the last month and a half.
Today's episode has been brought to you by Fluent Financial, by Oh Hell Roofing, and by Goodness Steak Seasoning.
Just Wondering is a production of DSP Media for FanStream Sports. You can find Norm's show along with other great programming at fanstreamsports.com.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Just Wondering. If you enjoyed it, please hit follow. Then each episode every weekday will be delivered straight to you. And if we might ask one more favor, please share it with friends. I'm Norm Hitzges, and every day I'll be just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitzges, and I'm just wondering too.